or welcome back to today's reading. This video might be a little late, but with everything that's going on and due to personal things, I am working on a couple personal readings, so those should be done pretty soon. But anyways, before I start the video, I just wanted to say donate if you can, and if you can't for some reason, I have made a playlist for people that are donating their ad revenue to the BLM movement, so I'll link that down below as well. But getting back to the reading, this is going to be, as the title says, are you going in the right direction? So as usual, we have groups number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1. Is this piece of labradorite here. Number 2 is this blue kyanite. And number 3 is this pendulum. So, as usual, feel free to pick 1, 2, or all 3, and I'll be getting started with number 1 in just a few moments. Group number 1 with, again, the labradorite. So, the first impression I got from this as a whole is that you guys are going in the right direction, but it feels like with the creativity card, we're just going to ignore that is the creativity card. We're just going to focus on the image here. It feels like that you guys are kind of holding yourselves back, because it looks like here that the person is kind of bracing themselves against the stone behind them. But with clarity, or the clearance card, they'll know how to move on from this position here. So, with clearance, it feels like surrendering and detaching yourself from your results. This doesn't mean that you're going to give up on your goals, but also don't overthink what is and isn't possible, because your ego might be trying to convince you that some things are just not possible. And if you allow your ego to take over instead of simply observing it, that's when the doubts can kind of come in. I trust in divine timing and find peace in life's magnificent unfolding. That's pretty much what this is saying. So it's not your job to figure out how. Yes, it is good to have a plan and state what you want and have those action steps, but you don't have to figure out steps A all the way down to step C. Sometimes things can happen unexpectedly. I see things as sacred gifts that nourishes my evolution. So don't take these unexpected outcomes as situations as signs that you should give up. You may run into obstacles, which may be the universe trying to get you to learn a lesson. I think the universe is very calculative, and there's a quote by Einstein that says, "Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous." Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So God, universe, light, source, they're all names for the same thing, different names for the same thing. Personally, I like to use universe, but that's just me because it feels a little bit less personified. But again, that's just me. And going back to the reading, is this saying that do you try to work around these blocks, or do you just turn around and give up? With the home card, this signifies that you're healing and letting go of what no longer serves you. So yeah, going back to this, you're kind of in a state where you're just kind of stuck. You feel stuck and confused, but then you start to let go of these doubts. This is when you start to let go of these doubts. And this is when you're actually starting to move forward from, any limiting beliefs. And then with the eel, this is when you're able to detach and let go completely and start moving in the direction that you intend to. So this is kind of like saying to go with the flow and trust the process. Keep moving forward instead of focusing on the past. Two of Stones or Two of Pentacles in reverse talks about reprioritization, disorganization, and overcommitment. So this year, it could be you just putting too much on your plate, and that's why you could feel overwhelmed. This could be a reminder that you need to reconsider what you're doing. Are you doing too many things at once, or is there a bit more that you could be doing? So depending on who you are in this reading, again, this is a general reading, check what resonates with you. You can either be doing way too much for yourself, making things a lot harder on yourself, or you can be doing kind of the bare minimum, but you're not being honest with how much you need to do. So because of the affirmation here, if I can find it, I allow myself to rest. Rest is wildly productive. So some of you may be doing too much, but if there's more that you can be doing, but if you know that you could be doing a little bit more, this isn't saying to adopt the hustle culture. PRXO has a great video on that I can link down below too. This is just saying, is there a better way to do things? Connect with your intuition to really figure this out. And then we have drink tea. So a lot of my self-care oracle cards go the way I read them. You don't have to be literal, but this is just saying to have time to sit down with yourself, to meditate, really look through your intuition, connect with your higher self, and really, especially if it's your ego talking to you a lot, really sit down, listen to it, and see what it's trying to say, and then kind of talk to it. I did mention this on a previous video, if you've seen that, but one of my favorite podcasts, Big Move, talk about talking to the ego and seeing what they have to say so they can, kind of reassess the situation instead of just shutting the ego down, because your ego is there to protect you, or that's what it's trying to do, but it doesn't really discern if it's trying to protect you from things that are good or things that are bad. It just recognizes stress in your body and just thinks that stress or that anxiety is automatically a bad thing. So yeah, with this, take the time to sit down with yourself. And then we have all expression and intuition and intention flow through my heart center. I am love. So this is also a continuation of saying to listen to your inner guidance and your higher self and discern that from your ego. So yeah, intuition. Again, everything I just said before, connect to intuition. Know if the intuition is your ego trying to talk to you, if it's your higher self trying to talk to you, and instead of ignoring your ego, like I said before, talk to your ego and then try to see any contradicting evidence against your ego. So for example, I should just see if it's up off the top of my head. Let's say your ego is trying to tell you that you'll never pass this class, and that you will never, let's just go with that. Let's just say your ego is saying that you'll never pass this class. Well, then you can talk to your ego and say, well, I passed these other classes before, and I thought I would never pass them, so why would this class be any different? So it's just kind of giving your ego like something to think about and kind of like rewiring yourself. So that was group number 1. If that resonated, down below, or that resonated, please if you like, comment down below. I do have an Etsy for personal readings as well, but if you can't do that right now, leaving a like and a comment will be just as great. So I'm gonna move on to pile number 2. Alright, pile number 2. Again, with the kyanite here. Random fact, but this kyanite was also my first piece of crystal, my first crystal. I don't know why I was drawn to blue kyanite, but anyways, going to the reading. I mean, I do know it by now, but that's a different story. Sorry if you hear that plane going overhead. Oh, I forgot to mention this in the last pile, but if you hear like sounds of water in over there, that's just because I'm trying to drown out any other outside noise. Okay, so pile number 2. So overall, I feel like this is saying that to follow what you love to do, and while there may be obstacles in the way there, you still have it in your mind that the end goal is worth it. So we have the attraction card here. This attraction card is usually about a person or relationship, but for a lot of you, I feel like it's about what you want to manifest and what you want to do. So this is saying, so this along with the reverse, the decision card in reverse is saying that there's no question about it. I know I want to do this. I don't care what it's going to take. I know this is the thing I'm going to do. And there's like this sense of security, because once you find it, and well, if you haven't found it already, and once you find it, this is pretty much saying that I know what I want to do. This is my mind is set on this. So that's kind of where that security comes from, because you're really sure of what you want to do. And we have the abundance card. Usually abundance card is about well, when I first read this, I kind of got my first impression was that it could be about that this would be something that would give you a lot of abundance, but I feel like it's less about that, more about how much are you willing to prepare to get to this. So you have all the food here, all these you have all this food around here, but the question is, how did the food end up here in the first place? It didn't just come out of thin air. You didn't just show up there. A lot of preparation, a lot of work that had to be done behind the scenes for this to happen. So this may also be a reminder for some of you. This food can represent your goals and what you're manifesting, but what are you doing to get there? Some of you may not be thinking realistically on how to get there. Some of you might be thinking that, oh, this, because I know what to do, everything's going to be easy, everything's going to be, walking through a field of daisies or whatever. But this isn't going to say that your life is going to be hard, or that your life is going to be completely difficult, you're going to run into this tower moment. But at the same time, do expect some type of challenges on the way there, especially if the universe is trying to get you to learn something. I did say in the last pile that while you don't have to hustle, or you don't have to adapt to the hustle culture, it is also saying to work smarter rather than harder. So it's just saying that some things may be a little bit harder than you thought, but at the same time, don't let that deter you away from this. Just because you're running into some obstacles, that doesn't mean that this isn't for you. For me, I know that I wanted to do, I know what I wanted to go for certain careers. So one of them is tarot reading, another one is being a researcher. But I know that there are certain stresses and certain, I guess, frustrations on the way there. But even with those stresses and anxieties and all that, I know that the end result is something that I wanted, and that was just something I needed to get through. Not saying it's easy and that you can just like blow through those frustrations, but at the same time, expect like a little bit of work to be done. So again, I don't engage in hustle culture working basically 24/7. I do take my breaks from time to time. I do, spend some time on YouTube. Well, not too much time, but I don't do this 24/7 is what I'm saying. So on one end, it's wondering why it's something I love to hustle culture. On the other end, you don't want to, do the bare minimum, and then wonder why isn't anything working. For example, let's say you put in a resume at let's say you're trying to find a job, and you put in an application like once every other month, and then you say to yourself, why am I not getting hired? Instead of being consistent with setting in job applications, every day or every week. And with 3 of Vessels, this is something to look for others for help. So is there something that you're missing? Is there something that you haven't considered? However, when you do look for help and advice, the jealousy card is saying to not completely change what you're doing or your thoughts based on what other people say. So have that balance of asking people for advice to take into consideration, but at the same time, don't completely change yourself to make them comfortable. So have that balance there. Don't live by someone else's expectations, whether it's from people that are trying to bring you down or people that do have the intention to help. If they're helping, take into consideration, but think critically about it too. Overall, don't make it harder than it needs to be by putting other people's needs above your own or other people's expectations on yourself. With energy work, and I trust the wisdom of my body. Healing is my natural state. I feel like these two go together, especially since this reading talked about being influenced by other people. This may not be a physical healing, but it's more like a healing your inner self. So this might be about feeling inadequate, not being competent enough, or not feeling competent enough. I feel like this is about working through what holds you back. With the cards here, there may be some chakras that you need to balance out. So I did do a bigger card reading a while back on what chakras to balance out, and I can link that below or put it somewhere here, wherever it goes. And we have I am my own secret space. So this is a continuation of what I just said about healing yourself. So while and after you heal yourself, remind yourself that you're looking for a vessel, or even before you start to heal yourself, but having your mind that to take care of yourself pretty much, that you are living for yourself. And I don't mean this in a selfish way. You don't have empathy or altruism for others, but you're not also basing your happiness on someone else's expectations of yourself, but you're basing it within yourself. Sorry if my voice is cracking, but I don't feel like recording this, so I don't feel like re-recording this. We're just gonna deal with it. Love is my purpose, joy and peace are my calling. So, going back to what you want to do, what drives you, why do you want to do this, what do you want to get out of this? If you're going straight for something, there should be a reason behind this, and not just, well, just because I want to do this. And it could be for anything too. And it doesn't matter if you think the reason is selfish, because I mean, for example, let's just say that you want to manifest money, or that you want to manifest $20,000 or more by the end of the year. So, why do you want this money? Is it because that you want to move out? Is it because that you just want financial freedom? Or is it because that you want to pay for something? So the reason might be for yourself, but don't feel like you're being selfish just because it is, if that makes any sense. So that was group number 3. Again, as usual, I have my Etsy down below for personal readings. If for some reason you can't do that, leaving a like, comment is great enough as well. I also have other links down below for my Etsy, for Instagram. I'm gonna move on to POW number 3. Alright, POW number 3. You guys have, again, the pendulum that I dropped on the floor once, so it's broken. Okay. So for pile number 3, the overall feeling I'm getting for you is you might be making things a little bit too difficult for yourself, because you have the ancestor card in reverse, but then you also have the green man. So these two kind of give me the opposite energy. I usually see the ancestor as someone who is in a position of power or empowerment, and in this reading it feels like the green man is working on or towards something. So when you have these two together, it's like you're working or you're doing something, but something is missing, or it's like you're putting too much work into something that's not working out. This isn't saying that you should give up on what you're doing, but it could just be the how is not working rather than the what. So basically reconsider what you're doing and how you're going about this. If you're doing something over and over again, it's not working out. Well, 1, that's what they call insanity, and 2, with the moon and water, with the image and the egg in the water, I kind of see this saying 2 things, but they basically go around to say the same thing, just in 2 different ways. So one, you have an egg in the water here. So eggs are actually very porous, and if you put an egg in water for long enough, it is going to drown. But on the flip side, when you take this card, what this card is trying to say, this is about rebirth. So this is like saying that something is hidden here, and that something is kind of like, it's like not really about drowning, but it's like waiting to be hatched. So either way, it's trying to say to reassess what you're doing. Is the egg drowning, or is it about to hatch? Overall, this is saying that keeping this egg in the water isn't really doing it any good. That you need to bring it out of water and to let it hatch, or to save it, or to let it drown completely. And by kind of like doing what you're doing now, if you're like doing things that aren't working, you keep doing that, then that's just kind of like a warning to say, hey, maybe what you're doing needs to be reevaluated or reassessed. And then we have the hair in reverse. So this is also a warning to say that if you're going to ignore this, then that if you're going to ignore this, then this might be the end result of the High Priestess or the Sheer card in reverse. So upright, I kind of see this hair representing someone who's kind of like looking over the edge. You kind of see what's going on over there, but with it in reverse, like you're kind of like in your own hole, or you're just kind of like not paying attention to anything. You want to stay in your own little bubble. But this is saying that the more you do this, and the more that you kind of like keep the egg drowned and hidden, and the more that you're doing what you're doing now, and you're not kind of thinking what you're doing, then the result is going to be, the seer kind of reverse, or your intuition is going to be blocked, or you're not going to get the results that you want. So are you pulling yourself further away from, this is pretty much saying that you're kind of pulling yourself further away from whatever it is that you're trying to get. So, as I've been kind of repeating myself, but rethink and look over what you've been doing, what's not working. Doesn't mean to give up on what you're doing, but because the issue could be the how and not exactly the what. So we have here, it is okay to ask for help. Reaching out with an open heart makes you stronger. Your own perspective on what you're doing might be limited, so it's good to have another set of eyes. I see the light and reside in its loving presence. I feel like this is a complicated way of saying what can you do to make things easier for yourself. How can you work smarter as opposed to harder? Focus more on the positives and direct your energy on what's important instead of focus on, irrelevant shit. My body is vibrant and beautiful. Again, don't work too hard to put on stress. Your body needs rest, and lack of sleep or rest is not going to help you in the long run or even the next day. I also feel like this goes hand in hand with creating an altar card. I feel like this is about creating an altar for yourself rather than your deities, but if you have a deity or an ancestor or an angel that can help you with this, then go ahead and do that. But this is more about yourself and taking care of yourself. So, for example, we can ask Aphrodite. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. I heard Aphrodite isn't technically the right pronunciation, but I'm getting sidetracked. But anyways, since she is the goddess of love, self-love, you can ask for help, for example. But in the end, this is more about taking care of yourself, letting go of frustrations, and meditating on solutions, or to be present and let things come in. Speaking of letting things come in and, being present, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero could be a good resource for that. I can link the audiobook down below, or the Amazon link if you want to buy the book. Not affiliated, I just like the book. But this is pretty much saying that to be present and thoughts come in, the intuition come in, just to be present in the present moments, and to just, instead of overthinking, let this be a moment where you can kind of ponder through solutions and kind of work through things. But again, with asking for people for help, you can do this and then kind of see what other people have to say. If you haven't seen pile number 2, I did also talk about how while other people might give you good advice, you don't have to completely change your life completely for them, or completely change yourself based on what they say. Just take it with a grain of salt, but do take it with consideration, and do have that critical thinking. And this might be related for some of you. I just kind of remember this off the top of my head, but one of my other favorite podcasts, Shit They Don't Tell You, by Nikki Limo and Steve Green, or Nikki and Steve Green. They do have a podcast where they talk about arguing or Thinking Without Bias, and I can link that below too. But anyways, that was pile number 3. I do have Etsy down below for personal readings, but if for some reason you can't, liking, commenting is just as great, because that does help with the channel, and I can just get this out to more people, which is what I'm trying to do. And again, do donate, but if you're on a budget and kind of ton of money, you don't have to, well, I guess I'm saying that donating isn't the only way, but it is encouraged. However, I do have a playlist that I made that I'm going to link down below for people that are donating their ad revenue to Black Lives Matter. And if you're busy, you can just put that playlist on repeat and go on with your day. It's just having it in the background. But anyways, that is the end of the reading for today. And for those who did contact me for personal readings, I am working on those and I'll be out very soon.